So basically in this session, we will learn how to deploy a virtual machine over the hypervisor and how to install virtual delivery agent and how to create the master images. And from that from those master images, what we have to do, we have to create the machine catalogs, and further we will configure the delivery groups. So now I can connect it. So basically this is our hypervisor. I have increased memory to 8 GB and it is sufficient for me to deploy one virtual machine. Now to deploy a virtual machine, first what we have to do, we need some ISO media files to deploy the operating system, right? In VMware workstation, what we do, we just mount an ISO media, right? And from that ISO media, we can boot up the machine to deploy the operating system. In similar way, here in Citrix or in Hypervisor, we have to use the ISO medias and they were known as the storage. So first we have to create one ISO library, and in that ISO library, what we will do, we will move all the ISO files over there. Okay, so I have one folder here in my laptop with name ISO, and my all ISO medias, means all required ISO medias are already there. So I'm going to mount this folder. So for the same, I have to share it, not from here. I have to okay, it is already shared to everyone in read-only mode. That is fine. So I have to copy this path, close it. Now from here, just click on new storage. What kind of storage we are going to deploy? We are going to create one ISO library. Simply click on next. Now just name it as a ISO library only. In that way you will be identify like this storage is created for ISO files only. Simply click on next. Now what we have to do, we have to provide the path for that ISO or folder location, right? So in my case, my laptop host name is host actually. So but that host name will not work because my the folder which I shared from my laptop is not into the domain which I have created, that is techmtech.com. It is an external source from where I am taking the path. So for the same, what I have to do, I have two options. Either I can create the DNS records of my laptop, update the DNS records of my laptop, or I can replace the host name with the IP address, right? So let me check the IP address for the network. Here it is 10.1 in my case. So what I can do here, I have to enter my IP address 192.168.10.1, and again here I have to enter my local credentials. Why? Because my laptop is not into my domain. So what is the username? Okay, it's root, and password, actually I always use my fingerprint to unlock my laptop. So okay, so here we have one ISO library. If I go to the storage, we have multiple ISO files now, right? From them we can boot any machines. Any machine is, where is the server 2019? Okay, it is here. So now simply what we have to do, we have to create a virtual machine. So you can create it from here, or you can click on file. You can create here, you can click here, and from here you can create a new virtual machine. So simply now it is asking to deploy the operating system. So I'm going to select server 2019. You can select anything, whatever operating system is required. Okay, simply click on next. Now let's name it as a server 2K19. Why? Because it's Windows Server 2019. Click on next. Now it is asking for the installation media, right? So now we can click here. We are getting multiple ISO files now. Click, select the operating system. I have selected server 2019 ISO. Simply click on next. Now it is asking uh, for it is asking to select the hypervisor, right? So if you have multiple hypervisors in your organization, you will get list of all the hypervisors over there. But in our case, we are having only one hypervisor. That is the reason why we are getting only single hypervisor here. Okay. Along with the hypervisor host name, you will get memory and storage detail as well. Okay. Simply select the hypervisor. Click on next. Now it is asking for number of virtual CPUs and RAM. That is completely fine. 2 virtual CPUs and 2 GB of RAM. Maximum you can allot 1536 GB of memory to any server if it's supported, right? So here is the limitation. That much of memory we can extend to any virtual machine. Simply click on next. Now it is going to utilize 32 GB of hard drive, what we have allocated to Gen Server 02. Simply click on next. Network is fine. Here is a summary what we have selected. Click on create now. So here machine is creating. As it is creating the disk, now it is starting the VM. So if you can click here, you can click on console. In some time you will get some display here. Let me undock this. Oh, I think what is going on? Okay, I think in the start it always asks to press any key to boot from installation media. So let's reboot machine again, and let me undock this in the start only. No, why? Let's try one more time. Something wrong. It's in UEFI mode. Okay, let's recreate this machine. Again, server 2019. Let's select this time BIOS mode. CPU is fine. This is also fine, and start. This time it works. So might be problem was that because I have made some changes in my DHCP scope, so that might be going to the network boot first. And because I was working on the PVS console, so to stream the virtual disk, we we must have to make some changes into the DHCP scope. We have to open port number 67 and port number 11. So that might be a possible reason. Anyway, so let me delete this. So basically now what we have to do, this is a simple installation, like the general installation that you guys always doing for any Windows server or Windows desktop operating system. So we just have to wait to get this installation done, then we will continue. Okay. So in between, if you have any concern or any queries, you can ask. Anyone?
Sir, why you use the boot? Why you use boot process instead of UEFI?
Sorry.
Sir,
Hello.
you select boot process, boot option instead of UEFI. Sir.
So basically, if I talk about the boot modes, less right. So do you have any idea how many boot modes are available so far?
Only BIOS, sir.
BIOS and
I have idea BIOS, sir. Simply if we want to install any विंडोज है इन प्रीवियस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन था जब मैं कोई विंडो WDF के इससे इंस्टॉल करता था तो मैं बूट ऑप्शन बायोस ही सेलेक्ट करता था और
okay.
F1 F2 करके वो हो जाता
Yeah, that is completely fine. So the BIOS mode was the oldest thing. Now we have UEFI mode into the market right now. Okay, so whatever the machines or laptop or hardwares we are getting from the market, all those hardwares are configured in UEFI mode. Basically, UEFI it is a secure boot, and once you have put your laptop into the UEFI mode, after that you will not be able to change the sequence what you have selected for the boot purpose, right? So by default it will go to the network boot first, then it will go to the ISO or the like and the external media what we have selected, then after it will go to the local hard drive for boot perspective. So in the production we always prefer to have network boot. Why? Because we are streaming the virtual disks, the like vdisks for PVS uh, console. So all of our virtual disks are streaming in real time, right? To power on the target device, what we have selected, what users are working on, which virtual disk users are working. So all those hard drives are online, right? So we must have to select the network boot on top priority. If there is something wrong with the network, in that case our machine will boots up with the local drive, right? So as you are working in PVS, right? You are telling me like
है
you are working in PVS. So in PVS all of your hard drives are online, right? So basically,
So
in
we
that
have
case, you are using the UEFI mode.
okay.
So this is a simple installation. And have you ever worked on the DHCP options for PVS console in your current organization?
No, sir.
No. So how you will be able to identify, like, your hard drive IP address and other stuff like the virtual drive, if you want to see the IP address or MAC address is correct or not. So those kind of activities, how you will perform without.
Sir, DHCP, sir, actually, sir, by LAN, sir, by LAN, I get my by LAN, I validate my server is get IMP by DHCP or not, sir. Actually, sir, DHCP is handled by network security team, sir. We are not doing any single work on DHCP server. By LAN, sir, I justify my server is get IP from DHCP or not, sir.
No, that is completely fine. While then you will be able to identify like what IP your laptop or desktops are getting, right? But
Yes, sir.
if you want to know the IP address
Or
of the virtual hard drive, right? So how you will do that? My question was that actually. Because
sir,
DHCP
simply
network, listen, the DHCP scope, whatever we are using into the organization. So first priority is with the network team, right? But there will be a different DHCP scope for PBS. Why? Because PBS is from the Citrix, and we have to create a separate VLAN for the same to create a new DHCP scope. Okay, no issue.
so,
That I will let you know
no
how to
idea.
do. That I will let you know how to do that, because we have to create a separate network, right? Because if my DHCP scope is running on 192.168.10.xx, so this is my primary DHCP scope. My clients are getting IP address from that DHCP scope, right? Or the network ID. But if I'm using the PBS console, in that case, I must have to create a separate DHCP scope uh, to allocate the virtual disk over the network. So in that case, I can create a separate VLAN or network ID. Just suppose it's 10.0.0.1 or blah blah blah. Anything I can select. So when you click on the PBS, like when you have logged on to your computer on or onto your virtual machine, right? So uh, you will get one icon in the tray icon for PBS, right? You can click on that link, and from there you will get the status. This might be quite complicated for you right now. No worries. I will let you know all those things with the practicals in easy way. Okay, so just focus on what we are doing right now, not what we are planning further. Okay. It will take a while, I think, up to 20 minutes for sure. In between, let me search if I can show you something different. Okay, we can discuss few things like something related to interview or knowledge perspective. So I think when you will be preparing for the interview or anything, okay, so this is the very basic question that anyone can ask you: what is IMA and what is FMA? Okay, so in simple word, actually FMA was introduced after the release of 7.xx version, okay, but for Gen app or Citrix version 6.15 and earlier, it was known as the IMA. Okay, so if anyone can ask you what is the basic difference, so you can let him know, like in IMA there was no storefront was there, okay, no machine catalog, no delivery group, okay, and connection leasing was not there. There was no Citrix studio in IMA. Okay, so all those we are working on right now, right? Machine catalogs, then VDA agent. There was no VDA agent in IMM, okay? And there was no Citrix Studio. The guys was using App Center and multiple kind of servers we have to use on that time. So this has been outdated now. Now we have got single management console that is known as Citrix Studio. With the help of Citrix Studio in FMA, we can manage the entire infra, right? So if someone asks you what is FMA, so here is a full form. It is Flexcast Management Architecture, okay? And in simple words, you can answer it is a with the help of FMA, we can easily manage the entire infra with a single management console, which is known as Citrix Studio. But in IMA, there was no such kind of things. Okay, you have to manage each server manually. Okay, so that was in the starting. So here is the definition. I will share this document to you after the entire series. Okay, and one more important question is this: the Citrix services. Okay. So earlier when it was started, only 6 services was provided by the Citrix. Okay, and now it has been increased to 18 services so far. So the important services, because it is quite hard to remember all the services at a single point of time. Okay, whenever this kind of questions being asked, you will not be it means nothing comes into your mind with the service name. Okay, so as we are working, so I will let you know the simplest service that you can answer anytime. First service is storefront service, because we always using the storefront. So here Citrix storefront service, this is the easiest one to remember. Then machine catalogs we are working on. Where it gone? Okay, the machine catalog service, because we are creating the machine catalogs always. Then the host service. If we are talking about the host here into the Citrix, that means we are talking about the hypervisors. Okay, so host service, and you can remember any, like we are authenticating the user, so you can remember this one as Citrix AD identity service, right? So at least you should answer at least 4 to 5 services. You can tell them, like there are total number of 18 services so far, but I am having few services in my mind right now, and you can answer, right? You do not have to remember all the 18 services, right? So, and if someone asks you, like if your VDA is not getting registered and users are not able to log on to their machines, and they are getting cannot start this virtual machine or some kind of issues. Okay, so first you have to go to the services, then you have to check the status of all the services, like as you can see here, all the services are running, means everything looks fine. But whenever someone is reporting something, so first thing you have to check the services, like services are running or not. If you found any service in stop state, right, so you must have to restart that service. And if all the services are running, then you have to check the connectivity, whether connectivity is fine or not with the user's machine. So sometimes it happens, like your machine is connected into the network, but due to some network issues or due to any random issues, a delivery controller is unable to communicate to that particular machine. So network connectivity and services, so only two solutions are there for general or for 90% of problems. Okay, it will work. So actually these are some scenario based question, like is Gen desktop works without database connectivity? Yes, it will work for the running users. Okay, but I will explain all those things after the class, because our class is not completed yet. Okay, so basically here is FMA. As I told you earlier, define FMA key component in short. So key component will be delivery controller. Here is a definition. Then site database. Then virtual delivery agent. Let's check the status. It's 49%. Then the storefront. Then Citrix receiver or workspace. So right now It is Citrix workspace only because receiver was the oldest, older version of workspace. Then a studio, then director, then license server. Then these are the kind of additional components, like by default Citrix is configured over the MCS only, right? But MCS will work on Citrix hypervisor only, right? So if you have any other hypervisor, let's suppose you are having VMware as a hypervisor like ESXi host. Okay, so for those kind of organizations who are not using Citrix hypervisor, Citrix introduced the provisioning services. Provisioning services, the PVS services that we are using. So basically, provisioning services just stream the master image to user's device, right? So we will configure PVS infra soon, and I will let you know there is uh, no machine catalog or Citrix Studio will be required to configure the provisioning services. We can configure them without those things as well. But only delivery controller will be required to manage the console. Okay. NetScaler, it is also the additional component. Citrix Cloud Bridge, Citrix SD-WAN, those are the additional components. Okay. Then machine catalogs. So basically, machine catalogs are it is a collection of physical or virtual machines. And we have three kinds of machine catalogs available so far: the server operating system machines, then desktop operating system, then a remote PC access. So remote PC access, it is always for the physical machines. Okay, but for those we can use physical or virtual machines both. Okay. Then delivery group. So basically, with the help of delivery group, we can specify, we can decide, or we can publish particular application or desktop to specific users or group. Then application group is also the same, like with the help of application group, we can publish a specific application to specific group or to the specific team or to the specific user. So what is machine catalog? Can we have single machine catalog and two machine catalogs if possible? No. Why? Because machine catalog, basically it is a virtual machine, and we cannot merge two operating system in a single machine. It could be a physical or it could be a virtual. Like when we have to publish the machine, we can publish single OS only. Like it could be a server OS or desktop OS. Okay, so these are the general questions. Like you can forget the machine catalogs. You can just suppose, like can we have two operating system in single machine? So there is some techniques available, like user can configure their laptop with dual boot. Like I have done those kind of activities. Like in the start you will get to select the operating system. You can install Linux and Windows at a time in your laptop or desktop, but there is a limitation. You can use only single OS at a time. You cannot use both together. So this is similar to that. So what is delivery group? Can we have single machine in two delivery group? Yes, we can do that. So basically, if someone asks you about the policies, like how policies has been allocated or how policies has been configured in your organization, what are the priority, right? So basically, the priority, if I talk about the priority for the policies, so in every organizations, these are the priorities for to deploy the policies. We always prefer the organization unit policies, or if I'm talking about the OU policies, so you have created one OU. So I hope you have some idea what OUs are, the folders, right? What we always created in the Active Directory console. So let me show you here. So this is my Active Directory and this is the OU, right? I have created one OU here, Citrix user, right? So this is the OU, organization unit. So it is always prefer to create a policy on OU. Why? Because you can create a separate OU for the separate teams, right? So just suppose you have to restrict a team as per the policies required, so you can direct uh, publish the policies here.